This old lens is full of fungus, so let's rip her open and try to fix that. Here's all the supplies I used for this project with affiliate links below. The repair starts at this timestamp if you're impatient. Otherwise, we're gonna talk about how I got this thing, explore its Cold War roots, and try our best to fix it. Spoiler alert, I think I f***ed it up. And to cap it all off, we'll check out some sample images from this thing. So buckle up, Buttercup, let's dive in. Anyway, I bought this vintage lens for a couple of bucks, and I was trying to flip it for a profit. You may even recognize it from my 120 pounds of cameras episode that I came out with like a month ago. And at first glance, it looked fine. I mean, a couple of bucks for a Zeiss lens, no brainer. I even got a few offers for 50 bucks, but I ain't trying to sell no lemons. So sorry, Jacob, let me know if you still wanna buy this thing after seeing this. Cause this Zeiss lens is in pretty rough shape. And it's no wonder, it's been through a lot. Originally conceived in 1902, this thing's a child of divorce, and it even endured Soviet occupation. How do I know all that? Well, you can read it all right here. And Google. So this specific lens is a Carl Zeiss Jena DDR Tessar 50mm f2.8. That's a mouthful. And while this serial number dates it to around 1970, it's got roots way deeper than that. 124 years ago, this fucking nerd invented the first ever Tessar lens for the Carl Zeiss Optics company in Jena, Germany. See? You can learn a lot from a nameplate. Anyway, the Tessar was obviously a big hit because they kept on making these classic lenses until around 1988. And even today, there's still tons of fancy new modern Tessar-derived optics rolling out of Germany. But being from Germany, you probably already know that this lens's heritage ain't all rainbows and lollipops or bratwurst and sauerkraut. I don't know what German's like. I just know that it wasn't all wunderbar. Scheiße, das kann nichts Gutes bedeuten. So there's one more fun fact on this here nameplate. What does DDR mean? No, not that. It means war, suffering, people divided. No, but really, it stands for Deutsche Demokratische Republik. I don't know how to say it. It stands for this.
Deutsche Demokratische Republik.
AKA the German Democratic Republic, AKA East Germany, AKA Soviet Germany. And in case you're just a skibbity 6'7" Rizzler baby, here's the cliff notes. So back in the 30s and 40s, this Austrian Charlie Chaplin impersonator was like a big jerk because nobody liked his paintings. So one epic crash out later and he flees to Argentina in a submarine, and yeah, now there's two Germanys. And not just two Germanys, but two Zeiss companies. You see, Jena, Germany was in the east, where the Soviets took over. But before the Soviets locked down their half of Deutschland, a bunch of Zeiss personnel, with the help of some paperclip pushing doughboys, fled westward to the American-controlled zone in Oberkochen. Oberkochen. They went here to this, that's how you spell it. Then for over 40 years, the world had two Zeiss companies, the OGs that got left behind in Jena, and then the American-style ones that fled to Oberkochen. Both companies claimed to be the legal successor, and throughout the Cold War, they both exported Carl Zeiss lenses worldwide. Then they sued the crap out of each other until eventually those commie Zeiss krauts stuck in the OG Jena factory were forced to put Jena on their lenses, like an asterisk, so us Yanks would know, das ist nicht gut. Then, 13 days before I was born, the Berlin Wall, the Berlin Wall. It's important. Then, 13 days before I was born, the Berlin Wall came crashing down. And soon thereafter, the East German Zeiss company was so crippled by decades of Soviet control, they had no other choice but to be absorbed by their much more successful West German counterparts in Oberkochen. So let that be a lesson to all you pinko commies out there. Capitalism. Anyway, what were we doing? Oh yeah, let's clean this thing. Okay, so we gotta get all the glass out of this thing so we can clean that fungus off. And with most vintage lenses, the first thing you gotta do is take this nameplate off. And to do that, you're gonna want a set of these grippy rubber cone thingies to give you enough friction to unscrew the dang thing. And there you go, easy peasy. Now set that bit aside and take a looky here. See those two holes on opposite ends of the glass? Anytime you see something like that, it's spanner wrench time. Here's the one I use. It's got these knobs to loosen these bits to adjust the distance between these prongs, and it can be a bit fiddly, but it gets the job done. Let me know in the comments below if you've used any other type of spanner wrench for lens repair. Anyway, this part was really tight, and I was having so much trouble unscrewing it that I started worrying that it had like a reverse thread or something. And then I slipped, and I scratched the f out of the metal. Luckily, it doesn't matter because the nameplate covers that up and I didn't scratch the glass or nothing. Anyway, at that point, I was worried I was messing up the front thread, so I decided to flip it over and hit it from the back. Okay, so we got 3 screws, pretty straightforward. I grabbed my fix-it kit, put on the right bit, take those screws out, and look at all those doodads in there. At this point, I have no idea what any of that stuff does, and I was getting worried I was breaking it. So before I went any further, I wanted to make sure it was still working. So I carefully held it together and spun the aperture ring, and as you can see, the blades are still moving. So I decided to retreat and screw that back plate back on before I did any irreparable damage. And nice, it's still working. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm no expert at lens repair. I just try not to disassemble anything beyond the point where it causes crippling anxiety. So back to the front element. And I guess I gave up too easily last time because with just a little bit of extra elbow grease and I knocked it loose. Then after removing this here retaining collar thingy, I revealed another set of spanner wrench targets. So after adjusting my wrench, I knocked it loose and spun it the rest of the way with this here needle file. Then after shaking it out of the lens barrel, bing bong, there you go. Here's the first lens group, but there's a problem. This is like multiple pieces of glass and they're dirty on the inside too. But after fiddling around for a few minutes trying to unscrew that front piece of glass with one of my rubber thingies, turns out you can just shake it loose. And here you go. The first 2 bits of glass ready to scrub-a-dub-dub. So I just plop them in this here deli container and give them a long squiz of hydrogen peroxide. Then I'll just set it aside to soak for a while as we try and pry out that rear element. Now if we look at that rear element through the front of the lens, you can see the exposed aperture blade assembly. And the last thing I want to do is reassemble some aperture blades, so let's flip her over. And there you go. See those 2 little notches? It's spanner wrench time. But after unscrewing that little retaining ring, the rear element wasn't coming out. I tried unscrewing it with one of my rubber thingies again, but when it wouldn't budge, I decided to take off that bottom plate again to make sure I wasn't forcing anything. But when that, I should just throw a football at those chickens. But when that didn't reveal any clues, I just grabbed a little plastic pry tool and jammed it in there to knock it loose. And that's it. Here's the rear element ready to throw in that hydrogen peroxide. And here's what's left of the lens, just an empty shell of its former self. Anyway, let's clean that glass. So like I said, I'm no expert at this stuff. I just used some Q-tips to scrub off all that fungus. Then I dried each piece of glass with a microfiber cloth and finished it off with one of those Zeiss branded lens wipes. And that's it. This ain't rocket science. Just scrub the glass, hold it up to the light, scrub it some more until it looks as clean as you're gonna get it. So after scrubbing for a while, it was about time to put it all back together. But before doing that, I might as well use this opportunity to clean the inside of the lens barrel. To do that, I grabbed one of the used up alcohol wipes and just wiped it around in there. Look at all this gunk that came off. And then after that, I just followed all my steps to disassemble it, but in reverse. And there you go, it's put back together. So let's see how we did. Here's the before, and yeah, it's a little better, but it's far from perfect. So what I think happened is, this thing's been infected for so long that the fungus literally ate away the exterior coating on these bits of glass. And that's not all. Remember I said I f***ed something up? Well, check this out. The focus throw spins all the way to the minimum focusing distance of 0.35 meters. But when you turn it the other way, it tops out somewhere between 4 and 5 feet. I mean, look at that. You can't get anywhere close to infinity. So I don't know how I f***ed that up, but it's definitely focusing beyond 5 feet. Here's some sample images. See? It's focusing fine. So I don't know, maybe that's just an example of Soviet craftsmanship and I didn't do anything wrong. Da, comrade. Plus, the footage looks fine to me. The colors are good, the contrast is good, no crazy flaring. I mean, check out this scene with me with a flashlight doing my Matthew Stern impersonation. You'd expect if this thing's coating was all totally shit that it would just flare up and lose all contrast, but it looks pretty cool. Plus, this lens has some pretty good subject separation for close-ups when you're at the minimum focusing distance. And I even like the pentagon-shaped bokeh when you stop down the lens, but wait a minute. I don't see any fuselage. I don't see any wings. Okay, finally, here's some cock pics. This is Big Boy. He looks pretty good, and honestly, this lens handled that backlit scene pretty good. By the way, I captured all these pictures and all this footage with my Sony a7 III. Anyway, I gotta say, despite this thing being so beat up, the picture looks great. So next time some eBay seller says tiny fungus will not affect picture, maybe he's telling the truth. Thank you, internet. I'm Nick. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Please, please, please like, subscribe, ring that bell icon, turn on all notifications, and hype this video if you're on mobile, and even consider going to madebylopro.com to check out my merch, check out my presets, check out my Photoshop action, and if you're feeling extra nice, you can give as little as $1 per month to join LoPresti Army, helping me to make analog fun again. You get exclusive access to photo critiques, you get your name shouted out at the end of the videos, you get discount codes, and I even gave away my first Lightroom preset to all LoPresti Army members. I couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Brock. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Hill. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Slavic Boy. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Litos. Thank you, Nanu. Thank you, M. Thank you, Anjay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Government Psyop. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Mortison. Thank you, Floppy Toppy. Thank you, Dankway. Thank you, Ziggy. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Subpar. Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Readers. Thank you, Rhett. And thank you, Zach. God, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to say every single name. Savannah. If you're still here, say fun guy. Say, Nick, you're a fun guy. If you're still here watching. Big things are coming soon. Grab me that. I want to show them that. This is hopefully going to be the next big video. I'm sorry that it's taken so long. It has almost been a year. What do you think, babe?
I don't know how you make something that is nothing into something that is more than nothing.
Better than nothing. Let's show him the puppy. Puppy time. Puppy time. I guess that's it. So, bye. I'm nice to you. I'm nice to you. I tried for you. I'd die for you.